สวัสดีค่ะพบกับช่อง Learn EN นะคะวันนี้จะมาเล่านิทานที่เป็นคำศัพท์ง่ายๆนิทานนี้ชื่อว่า The Little Yellow Bird and the Big Green Tree หรือเจ้านกสีเหลืองตัวน้อยกับต้นไม้เขียวใหญ่
There was a girl. Her name was Mimi. Mimi was 7 years old. She had black hair. Her hair was long. She had brown eyes. Mimi lived in a small house. The house was in the middle of a flower field. The flowers were yellow, pink, and white. The house had 2 windows. It had a red door. It had an orange roof. Mimi loved her house very much. It was pretty. It was warm. Every morning, Mimi woke up early. She opened the window. She looked outside. She saw the flowers. She saw the blue sky. She smiled and said, "Today is a beautiful day." One day, Mimi went outside to play. She ran through the yellow flowers. She sang a song. She was very happy. Then, Mimi heard a sound. The sound was small. It was like a cry. Mimi stopped walking. She looked around. She did not see anything. Then she looked down. She looked at the grass. In the grass, there was a small rabbit. The rabbit was white. It had long ears. It had pink eyes. The rabbit looked at Mimi. Mimi looked at the rabbit. Mimi sat down on the ground slowly. She did not want to scare the rabbit. She held out her hand. She waited. The rabbit did not move. Then, slowly, the rabbit came closer. It smelled Mimi's hand. Mimi smiled. She said softly, "Hello, little one. Do not be afraid. I am your friend." The rabbit looked at Mimi. Then it sat down next to her. Mimi was very happy. She said, "I will call you Snowy, because you are white like snow." Mimi picked up Snowy carefully. Snowy was very light. Snowy did not jump away. Mimi walked back to her house. She opened the red door. She went inside. The house was small, but it was nice. There was a table. There were 2 chairs. There was a big window. Mimi put Snowy down on the floor. Snowy looked around the house. Snowy sniffed the table. Snowy sniffed the chairs. Then Snowy found a soft rug near the window. Snowy sat down on the rug. The sun came in through the window. The light was warm and gold. Snowy closed its eyes. Mimi laughed softly. She said, "You like it here. Good. This is your home now, too." The next morning, Mimi woke up. She looked for Snowy. Snowy was still on the rug. Snowy was sleeping. Mimi went to the kitchen. She got some vegetables. She got a carrot and some green leaves. She put them in a small bowl. She put the bowl near Snowy. Snowy woke up. Snowy smelled the food. Snowy started to eat. Mimi sat on the floor and watched. She ate her own breakfast, too. She had bread and milk. They ate together. It was a good morning. After breakfast, Mimi went outside again. Snowy followed her. Mimi walked slowly so Snowy could keep up. They walked through the flower field. The flowers were tall. Some flowers were as tall as Mimi's waist. Snowy jumped through the flowers. Snowy was very fast. Mimi laughed and ran after Snowy. They played for a long time. One afternoon, the sky changed. It was blue before. Now it was gray. The wind started to blow. The flowers moved side to side. Mimi looked up at the sky. She said, "I think rain is coming." She picked up Snowy. She ran back to the house. She went inside. She closed the door. She closed the windows. Then the rain came. It's a big rain. The wind was loud. The rain hit the windows hard. Mimi sat on the floor. She held Snowy close. She said, "Do not be scared. We are safe inside." Snowy looked at the window. Snowy's ears went flat. Snowy was a little scared. Mimi held Snowy tighter. She sang a soft song. The song was slow and quiet. After a while, Snowy stopped shaking. Snowy put its head down on Mimi's leg. Snowy closed its eyes. Mimi kept singing. The rain was still loud outside, but inside it was warm and quiet. After 2 hours, the rain stopped. The wind stopped too. Mimi went to the window. She opened it. She looked outside. The air smelled fresh. The flowers were wet. The ground was wet, but the sky was clear now. It was blue again, and there was a rainbow. It was big and bright. It had red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. Mimi said, "Wow. Look at that." She picked up Snowy and held Snowy up to the window. "Look, Snowy," she said. "A rainbow." Snowy looked at the rainbow. Snowy's nose moved up and down. Mimi said, "It is beautiful, right?" Snowy made a small sound. Mimi laughed. She said, "I think you agree." Mimi had a neighbor. The neighbor was an old woman. Her name was Mrs. Boone. Mrs. Boone lived in a house not far away. Her house was bigger than Mimi's house. Mrs. Boone had white hair. She was short. She always wore a blue dress. She was kind and she smiled a lot. One day, Mrs. Boone came to visit. She knocked on the red door. Knock, knock, knock. Mimi opened the door. She said, "Hello, Mrs. Boone. Please come in." Mrs. Boone came inside. She saw Snowy on the rug. She said, "Oh my, is that a rabbit?" Mimi said, "Yes. His name is Snowy. I found him in the flower field." Mrs. Boone bent down slowly. She put out her hand. Snowy came over and smelled her hand. Mrs. Boone laughed. She said, "He is so sweet." Mimi said, "Do you want some tea?" Mrs. Boone said, "Yes, please. That would be very nice." Mimi went to the kitchen. She made 2 cups of tea. They sat at the table together. They talked. They drank their tea. Snowy sat on the rug and listened. Mrs. Boone told Mimi a story. She said, "When I was young, I also had a rabbit. His name was Cotton. He was gray and white. I loved him very much." Mimi asked, "What happened to Cotton?" Mrs. Boone smiled. She said, "Cotton lived for many years. He was a good rabbit. He was my best friend when I was a child. Then one day he was gone, but I still remember him." Mimi looked at Snowy. She said, "I hope Snowy stays with me for a long time." Mrs. Boone said, "Take good care of him. Give him food and water. Give him a warm place to sleep, and give him love. That is the most important thing." Mimi nodded. She said, "I will. I promise." Mrs. Boone patted Mimi's hand. She said, "I know you will. You are a good girl, Mimi." One morning, Mimi walked through the flower field as always. She saw something sad. One flower was bent down. Its stem was broken a little. The flower could not stand up. It was falling to the ground. Mimi stopped. She looked at the flower. She said, "Oh no, you are hurt." She went back to the house. She got a small stick. She got some string. She came back to the flower. She put the stick next to the flower. She used the string to tie the stick to the flower. She was very careful. She was very gentle. After that, the flower stood up again. It was not perfect, but it was standing. Mimi looked at the flower. She said, "There you go. Now you can get the sun again. Now you can grow." The flower moved a little in the wind. It looked like it was saying thank you. Mimi smiled. She felt good inside. 1 week later, something was wrong. Snowy did not eat. Snowy did not play. Snowy just sat on the rug and did not move much. Mimi was very worried. She sat next to Snowy. She put her hand gently on Snowy's back. She said, "What is wrong? Are you sick?" Snowy looked at her with tired eyes. Mimi went to Mrs. Boone. She knocked on her door. She said, "Mrs. Boone, Snowy is not well. I do not know what to do." Mrs. Boone put on her coat. She came with Mimi to her house. She looked at Snowy carefully. She felt his ears. She felt his stomach. She said, He is cold, and he is very still. I think he needs to rest and stay warm. Mimi got a soft blanket. She put the blanket over Snowy. She sat next to him all day. She talked to him softly. She said, "Please get better, Snowy. I need you." In the evening, Snowy started to move a little. He smelled the carrot near him. He ate a small piece. Mimi said, "Yes, that is good. Eat more. You will feel better." Mrs. Boone smiled from across the room. She said, "See, he is getting better already." Every Saturday there was a market in the village. The village was not far from Mimi's house. She could walk there in 20 minutes. Mimi liked to go to the market. There were many things to see. There were vegetables and fruit. There were flowers and plants. There were breads and cakes. There were also toys and small gifts. One Saturday, Mimi went to the market. She brought a small basket. She wanted to buy some things. She bought 3 carrots for Snowy. She bought 2 apples for herself. She bought a small loaf of bread. Then she saw something at one of the tables. It was a small wooden rabbit. It was painted white. Its ears were long. It looked just like Snowy. Mimi picked it up. She looked at the price. It was not too much money. She had enough. She bought it. She walked home smiling. When she got home, she put the wooden rabbit on the table near the window. She put Snowy next to it. She looked at them together. She said, "Now you have a friend that looks just like you, Snowy." One night, Mimi could not sleep. She got up from her bed. She went to the window. She opened it slowly. Outside, the sky was full of stars. There were so many stars. Some were big and bright. Some were small and soft. The moon was round and white. It gave light to the whole field. The flowers below looked silver in the moonlight. Mimi sat at the window for a long time. She looked at the stars. She thought about many things. She thought about Snowy. She thought about Mrs. Boone. She thought about the broken flower that she helped. She thought about the rainbow after the storm. She felt something warm in her chest. She did not know the exact word for it, but it felt like everything was okay. It felt like she was part of something big and good. Snowy came and sat next to her on the windowsill. They both looked at the stars together. Mimi said quietly, "I think the world is very beautiful, Snowy." Snowy's ear moved. Mimi smiled. She said, "I think you think so too." One morning in spring, Mimi woke up and remembered. Today was her birthday. She was 8 years old now. She felt happy. She got dressed. She went outside. The morning was bright and warm. The flowers were all open. There were more flowers than before. The field looked full of color. Mimi said, "Happy birthday to me." Then she heard a knock at her door. She went to open it. It was Mrs. Boone. Mrs. Boone held a small cake. The cake was round. It had white cream on top, and on the cream there was a little yellow flower made of sugar. Mrs. Boone said, "Happy birthday, Mimi." Mimi's eyes went wide. She said, "For me?" Mrs. Boone laughed. She said, "Yes, of course. Come, let us eat together." They sat at the table. They ate the cake. It was sweet and soft. Snowy sat on the rug and watched. Mrs. Boone gave Mimi a gift too. It was a small notebook. The cover was light blue. It had flowers on the front. Mrs. Boone said, "You can write your stories in this." Mimi held the notebook to her chest. She said, "Thank you, Mrs. Boone. This is the best birthday." Summer went by fast. The days were long and warm. Mimi and Snowy played in the field every day. Some days Mrs. Boone came and sat outside with them. She brought lemonade. They sat on the grass and watched the bees go from flower to flower. Mimi wrote things in her new notebook. She wrote about the rainbow. She wrote about the night with the stars. She wrote about finding Snowy. She wrote about the broken flower. She wrote small sentences. The words were simple, but the feelings were big. One evening, near the end of summer, Mimi sat outside alone. The sun was going down. The sky was orange and pink and red. The light was soft and warm on her face. She could hear the wind in the grass. She could hear birds far away. Snowy was next to her on the ground. Snowy was quiet too. They both watched the sun go down. Mimi thought, I do not need many things. I have my home, I have Snowy, I have Mrs. Boone, I have the flowers, I have the sky. That is enough. That is more than enough. Summer came again. 1 full year had passed since Sam and Lulu first met. Sam was now 8 years old. He had grown a little. His hair was longer. He was a little taller. He had many friends. He was happy at school and happy at home and happy in the park. He was just happy. On the day they first met, Sam and Lulu went back to the spot under the tree where it all began. Sam sat under the tree. Lulu sat on the branch above him, just like the first time. Do you remember? Said Sam. I remember everything, said Lulu. You asked me why I was sad, said Sam. And you told me you had no friends, said Lulu. And you said you could be my friend, said Sam. And you said, can a bird be a friend? Said Lulu. She laughed. Can a bird be a friend? Said Sam again, smiling. Yes, said Lulu. A bird can be a very good friend. They both laughed. Sam reached up and Lulu flew down to his hand. He looked at her, this small yellow bird with her bright feathers and her big voice and her kind heart. You changed my life, Lulu, said Sam. You changed mine too, said Lulu. Before I met you, I just flew and sang. I had no one to talk to, no one who listened to my words, only my songs. Now I have you, and Mia, and Leo, and Pip. I have a home. I have a family here. Sam smiled. His eyes were a little wet, but not from sadness. We will always be friends, said Sam. Always, said Lulu. The sun was warm and bright. The big green tree moved gently in the breeze. Its leaves made a soft sound like whispering. The park was full of children playing. Somewhere nearby, Pip was probably sleeping in the sun. The whole world felt full and good. Lulu spread her wings and flew up into the blue summer sky. She flew in great, joyful circles, up and up. Her yellow feathers caught the sunlight. She looked like a little piece of the sun, flying, and she sang. She sang her morning song even though it was afternoon. She sang it for Sam, for Mia and Leo, for the children in the park, for the village, for the big green tree, for Pip, for her family far away. She sang it for the whole wide world. Sam lay back in the grass and listened. He closed his eyes. The song filled the sky. It was the sound of everything good. He smiled. The end. This story was about Lulu and Sam. Lulu was a little yellow bird. Sam was a little boy. They were both lonely at first. Then they found each other. They became the best of friends. They helped each other. They cared for each other. And they were happy. Sometimes the best friends come from the most unexpected places. A little yellow bird, a boy under a tree, a kind word, a song. That is all you need.